2024 was one of, if not the worst movie-going years I've ever had in my life. Yeah, there are actual important things in life to focus on, but part of what makes movies special is that they can take your mind off of life's troubles for just a short bit. And while I can honestly say that this year's best movies entertained me more than last, I think, 2024's biggest bombs either just pissed me off harder or bored the ever-living shit out of me. And just like last year, to all the people who say, oh, stop making worst of the year lists, people worked really hard on those movies, you're just being mean for the sake of being mean. I wasted my money and my time on all of this. And that's on the filmmaker if they didn't do a good job. And you know what? If filmmakers want to keep making good movies or improve as filmmakers, they need to hear criticism to know either where they went wrong or if they just appeal to the wrong audiences. Because sometimes a movie makes a worst of the year list just because of subjective personal taste. Keep that in mind, okay? Alright, let's get this over with. Number 10. Okay, so I put Civil War on the bottom of my list for objective reasons. It's easily the most well-made film on this list. When you actually see the war play out, the cinematography is decent, the sound design on IMAX was exceptional, and a movie about modern Western society on the brink of civil war with the culture war we have going on right now, this is the kind of movie we need to make, but talk about wasting every opportunity you can with this story. Rather than actually analyze why these factions are at war, what their different ideologies are, see any attempts at making peace, this is the most generic war is bad story that barely even shows the war, just a talented cast of actors being given nothing to work with, playing bland characters who wander around making stupid, easily avoidable decisions like bumping into Jesse Plemons. I'm not kidding when I say this. The only reason they bump into him is because they decide to do a jackass stunt in the middle of the road, when they're not waxing poetic about nothing, trying to act stoic and cynical, when in reality, they just come off as sleep-deprived zombies. The War of the Rohirrim was basically just a glorified OVA that looked choppy and unfinished on the big screen, making the most basic of exposition-riddled conversations and sanitized battle sequences look even slower than an actual walk to Mordor. But even if it had a budget, the script puts too much focus on spoon-feeding a needlessly drawn-out plot that could have easily been an hour and a half tops. It's 2 hours, yet it feels even longer than the extended version of really pick and choose any movie. Non-existent, rushed character depth, and yet another girl power movie that, unlike the movies and heroes it tries to emulate, doesn't actually show the journey a woman has to go through in order to be strong and independent. I'll admit, I'm not a diehard fan of the original Gladiator, but of 2024's Been There, Done That sequels, this one felt the most pointless. Paul Mescal just doesn't have the energy, charisma, or physical presence to be a gladiator, let alone compare to Russell Crowe. The story beats that tie into the original fell force. Pedro Pascal and Denzel Washington were just awkward and wildly miscast. But at least they weren't Joseph Quinn and Fred Hechinger being excruciatingly over the top. I pity you guys. I have no idea what Ridley Scott told you to do, but it just wasn't worth it. Even the battle scenes felt sloppy, with awkward staging and camera work that, despite being an R rating, hid most of the violence. I'd say I was not entertained if everyone else already hadn't done that clickbaity title, so. For the first half hour of Queer, I was saying to myself, this is slow, but I'm interested. Daniel Craig gives one of his best performances, has decent chemistry with Drew Starkey, and they both commit to the sex scenes that make you feel the intimacy of their relationship, even if you're not gay. But even though I love when filmmakers get artsy, it still has to tie into the story, or at least cater to your sense of pretentiousness. And once again, Luca Guadagnino emphasizes music, camera work, editing tricks, and flashy dream sequences over fleshed out characters. And despite the wild imagery in this, in my opinion, there were no clues as to what they were supposed to be symbolic of. And like I said, it was only the first half hour that I was really interested, because the pacing in this is so fucking atrocious. For a 2 hour, 17-minute movie, I think, that was originally supposed to be 3 hours, it felt like I was watching it for days. This might seem like it's cheap, but hear me out on this one. Chicken for Linda was a movie that I walked in and out of as it was playing in my living room, and to be honest, I didn't even finish it. Now, had I seen this in a theater and had to sit through the whole damn thing, this would probably be a lot higher on the list, so keep that in mind. This style of animation could have told a simple story in such an engaging, emotional way, and while it's not poorly done, the color separation is kind of just there with no emotional impact, and other than the two random times that out of nowhere turns into this Yellow Submarine style musical, there's no style to the story. The tone jarringly shifts between a serious family drama and these cartoony slapstick moments filled with bumbling, annoying side characters, but worst of all, the mother and daughter who were supposed to care and empathize with the pain they're going through are so fucking insufferable and cruel to each other that I couldn't care less if the mother decided to steal a chicken so she could cook this one dish that they could have at a restaurant any given point if the daughter wasn't so fucking ungrateful to just wait a day. There are family dramas where you can understand grief and depression between a family mourning loss, but this just isn't how you do it. A true-life demon possession horror movie from the director of Precious. Yeah. The Deliverance is the one movie on this list that I actually recommend because it brought me so much joy for how hilariously awful it is. For a movie about faith and forgiveness, it's filled with so many irredeemable assholes, namely the main character. And aside from Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor and one monologue from Monique, everybody's a fucking cartoon character. From the angry social worker who pulls up in her car, puts lipstick on, and looks into the mirror going, "I got you now, Ebony Jackson." The youngest kid taking a shit in his classroom and throwing it at the teacher. Glenn Close in torn jeans, demon-possessed looking like Bilbo Baggins trying to take the ring. Oh. This was funny for all the wrong reasons, and I love it. I recommend it. Joel Coen's The Tragedy of Macbeth convinced me that the Coen brothers could still make great work independently. Ethan Coen, with his lesbian wife of 30 years, don't ask me how, I have no idea either, made a lesbian crime comedy with no chemistry in or out of the bedroom, mainly because the main character is a complete and utter twat. Margaret Qualley is one of the most unlikable characters of the year. Meanwhile, Geraldine Viswanathan is a complete pushover who I felt sympathetic for, but I'm just sitting there going, fucking say something already. Coleman Domingo and whoever the fuck the Buscemi Stormare knockoffs are exactly that, lame derivative knockoffs of much better Coen Brothers movies. Hell, for a Coen Brothers crime comedy, you expected to get incredibly violent with lots of shootouts, creative deaths, and this just felt so fucking tame. Matt Damon does absolutely nothing as the villain. Pedro Pascal, all of his scenes were in the trailer. Even Beanie Feldstein, who had a golden opportunity as the angry cop who screams everything that should be fucking hilarious, not a single joke landed. And the style of awkward editing choices with pointless scene transitions that just felt like filler, try to add energy but just grind everything to a halt. I guess this is why Joel had the directing credit during the 90s. Argylle is the movie of 2024 that I forgot the most. In fact, when I was making this list, I forgot at multiple different points that I even had this movie on the list. I had to watch my own review to remind myself that the acting was either stale and flat or cartoonishly over the top. The action scenes were edited to shit to hide the fact that Sam Rockwell wasn't doing his own stunts. The special effects were as Oscar-worthy as this fucking green screen. Hell, I could have green screened a front porch better than these guys could, because that looked like a Tyler Perry movie. And other than the characters just had no charisma, no chemistry with one another, nothing remarkable about them that we haven't seen in a billion other spy movies. I got nothing else. I really have no desire to keep on talking about it, so number 2. As dumb as Trap was, it was at least funny dumb and better made than The Deliverance, which is why I left it off the list, and I went into The Watchers out of morbid curiosity to see if Ishana Night Shyamalan was as entertaining or entertainingly awful as her old man. There was no joy to be had with this because she directs exactly like her father to a fucking fault, and on her directorial debut basically makes the worst decisions that he could have possibly made. Yes, there's pretty but pretentious filmmaking, way too much world building which leads to too much exposition on the world building to the point where I struggled to keep my eyes open halfway through with every fucking info dump I had to listen to about who these characters were, how did they get stuck in this forest, what even is this forest, who are the creatures that inhabit them, why are they tormenting them, just made me care even less and less. The acting from everyone, especially Dakota Fanning, was more wooden than the fucking trees in the forest, and whatever trees had to be cut down in order to make this Last Airbender quality script was just not worth it. I was already having a shitty day when I saw this and was hoping that I could get a Schadenfreude reaction to just go, wow, this sucks. Someone's life is doing worse than mine. No such luck there. It sucked the life out of me to the point where I couldn't even make a full video about it, and to be honest, I thought The Watchers was as bad as it was gonna get for 2024, until I saw Megalopolis. I said it in my review for this, and I'll say it again. I never check my phone to see how much time is left in a theater, but for this one, I had to. And when I seriously discovered that only an hour had passed and there was still an hour and a half to go, I seriously considered walking out like the one couple already had. But the only reason I didn't was because I wouldn't get my time or money back. The only thing I could do is say that this is hands down one of the top 3 worst movies I've ever fucking seen in my life. It left me with so many unanswered questions like, what is New Rome? Why does it exist? Who are these people? What relevance do they have to one another? Why do Caesar and Cicero actually hate each other? Why does everyone act like they're on a stage in front of a movie camera? They do know there's a difference, right? Why are Dustin Hoffman, Jason Schwartzman, Talia Shire, and Lawrence Fishburne even in this? Who looked at this editing and thought, yeah, that looks perfect. If this is what they cater to fucking Oscar winners, does this mean I can get editing jobs? Because I can do a fuck ton better than this. How do you take a movie that you have worked on for decades and then just rewrite the script while you're working on set, or even let the actors improvise and write their own scenes that take away any fucking context there was in the scene before? Does Shia LaBeouf still want us to think that he's a batshit raging asshole? What does Mia Goth see in him? Why could Caesar even stop time to begin with when it serves him absolutely no purpose? Or was that even a real superpower? Or was that just some metaphorical bullshit? Why the fuck am I even asking these questions? Look, long story short, Megalopolis sucks. Don't watch it. Just skip it. It's not even worth watching out of morbid curiosity. It's not so bad it's good. It's so bad it's one of the most boring pieces of shit I've ever seen in my fucking life. And I'm glad to get the worst out of the way because this was a fucking chore to do. So, guys, thanks as always for watching. Let me know in the comments below, what are the worst movies you saw in 2024? What did you think of my entries? Because some of these did get good reviews and Rotten Tomato scores, but doesn't mean I have to like them, right? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, check me out on Patreon and buy me a coffee, and stay tuned for my best of 2024 list. Take care.